these years, and still, I stand here alone.
My son-in-law stole the house my daughter paid for and left her to freeze on the streets of Chicago while he moved his mistress into a glass-walled penthouse overlooking the river. He thought, because I was an old retired mechanic, a quiet man with a limp and grease still etched into his hands, that I was powerless. He thought I was nothing more than a shadow from her childhood, someone easy to erase. He was wrong. When I showed up at his building the next day, I didn't bring a weapon. I brought a single piece of paper, one document, and that paper was enough to turn his millionaire lifestyle into a locked cell with steel bars. But before I tell you how I broke him, I need to tell you about the night that broke me, the moment that turned a patient old man into something far more dangerous. It was Christmas Eve in Chicago, and the wind cut through the city like a blade. The temperature read 10 below zero, and the wind chill made it feel like the Arctic Circle. Every breath burned my lungs. I pulled my old security guard coat tighter around my chest, but the cold didn't care. It found its way in anyway. I'm 71 years old. I don't need to work. I have more money set aside than most people on this block will ever see. But I still take night shifts at a warehouse because silence is easier than sitting alone in a house filled with memories. My name is Otis King. Most people see a tall, gray-haired black man with rough hands and a slow walk and assume I'm just another laborer scraping by. They don't know I built an infrastructure company from nothing. They don't know I still own the controlling stake. I learned a long time ago that invisibility is a kind of armor. When people underestimate you, they tell you everything. That night, I was walking the 4 blocks from the bus stop to my brownstone. The neighborhood was quiet. Christmas lights blinked softly in townhouse windows. I could smell wood smoke and roasted meat drifting from vents. The smell of families together. It used to make me smile. That night, it just made the emptiness in my chest feel heavier. As I passed the bus shelter on Martin Luther King Drive, something caught my eye. It was usually empty at that hour, but tonight there was a heap of garbage bags and flattened cardboard pressed into the corner against the glass. I almost kept walking. In this city, you learn quickly that survival often means minding your own business. But then I saw it move. The pile was shaking, not from the wind, from something alive underneath. I stopped. My boots crunched on black ice. I told myself it was probably someone drunk or someone coming down from a high. I told myself to keep walking, but my feet wouldn't move. I've always noticed when something is wrong, it's what made me good at building things that don't collapse. I stepped closer as the wind howled down the street. "Hey," I called out, my voice raw from the cold. "You can't sleep here. You'll freeze to death." No answer, just shaking. I sighed and reached into my pocket for a $20 bill. I figured I'd help and move on. But when I stepped into the shelter, I saw the hand. It was sticking out from beneath a filthy gray blanket. The skin was purple from the cold, the fingers thin and stiff. But what stopped my heart wasn't the hand. It was the ring, a cheap silver ring on the pinky finger, tarnished, bent, worth almost nothing. I knew every scratch on it. I bought that ring at a street fair 20 years ago for my daughter when she was 10. Inside, it was engraved, "Daddy's Girl." "No," I whispered. Keisha lived in a 5-bedroom house on Oak Street. Keisha was married to a man with expensive suits and perfect teeth. Keisha was safe, or at least that's what I told myself. My lunch pail slipped from my hand and hit the concrete, but I didn't hear it. I dropped to my knees and pulled the blanket back. The face staring at me barely looked human. Sunken cheeks, blue lips, frost-bitten skin. Her beautiful hair matted with dirt and grease. She smelled like sickness and rain. "Kesha," I choked. Her eyes fluttered open, glassy and afraid. She didn't see me. She saw my uniform. She flinched hard, pressing herself against the glass. "Please," she whispered, "don't hit me. I'm leaving. Just give me a second." Something inside my chest shattered. "It's Daddy," I said. "It's me." She squinted, confused. "Daddy," she whispered, "Braden said you were dead." That's when the cold stopped being outside me and moved into my blood. "You can't come in today, Otis," Braden had said back then, standing in the doorway like a bouncer instead of a husband. He never called me Dad, never called me Mr. King, just Otis, like I worked for him. "Why not?" I asked. It was Kesha's birthday. I had a gift in my pocket, a vintage watch that belonged to my mother. "We have clients coming over," he said, smoothing his suit like he owned the air around him. "High-end clients, investors, they expect success. No offense, Otis, but you look like the help. You smell like diesel and cheap coffee. It ruins the aesthetic." My fist twitched. 1 second closer, and I could have rearranged his perfect smile. But then I saw Kesha behind him in the hallway. She was laughing, glowing, proud of her husband. She didn't hear a word he said, so I swallowed my pride. I swallowed it like broken glass. "Fine," I said, "just give her this for me." I handed him the watch. He took it between 2 fingers like it might infect him. I walked away from that house, the house I paid for. That was my secret. I wired $400,000 through a shell company to cover most of the purchase. I wanted him to feel like a provider. I wanted my daughter to feel safe. I built the foundation so he could stand tall on it and look down on me. And now I knew he had used that house to break her bones. A sound from the clinic bed pulled me back. Kesha woke up screaming. Her body jerked upright, eyes wild, breath shallow. The heart monitor began to shriek. "No, no, please," she cried. "I didn't sign it. I didn't mean to. Don't put me back outside. It's too cold." I rushed to her side. She flinched when I touched her, curling in on herself, trying to disappear. "Kesha, baby, look at me. It's Daddy." She froze. Her eyes searched my face. Slowly, carefully, she reached up and touched my cheek, traced the scar on my chin, the gray stubble. "Daddy," she whispered, "you came back. I never left, baby. You're safe." "He told me you died," she sobbed. He showed me the paper. Something dark and cold settled inside my chest. "Tell me everything," I said quietly. "Everything he did. 6 months ago," she said. "He told me he lost everything. The market crashed, bad investments. He cried in my lap. Then he brought me papers, said it was to protect us, to save the house. I signed everything. I already knew what those papers were. A quitclaim deed, a trap." 2 days later, she said, "He came home with her. Tiffany, 22 years old, Instagram famous. He told me to pack a bag. She kicked me out, Daddy. He sold the house to her for $1. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I told him I'd call you," she said, "that you'd fix it." That's when he laughed. He showed me your obituary, said you died of a heart attack. He killed me in her mind so she would stop fighting. "I fainted," she whispered. When I woke up, my bags were on the sidewalk. The locks were changed. Tiffany laughed at me through the window. She was wearing my robe. I held her as her body shook. "The house is gone," she said. "Let him have the house," I told her. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "A house is just walls," I said. "It sits on land." And Braden Sterling forgot to check who owns the ground. I showed her the trust documents. The soil was hers, always had been. Then I opened my garment bag. Inside was a charcoal gray suit, polished shoes, silk tie. Otis the mechanic is dead, I said. Otis King is going to see him now. I left the clinic wearing my old coveralls. I needed him to see the man he thought was nothing. At the penthouse tower, the doorman sneered. Mr. Sterling doesn't see people like you. His father-in-law is dead. That's when the elevator doors opened. Braden stepped out smiling, arm wrapped around Tiffany, dressed like kings of stolen ground. And that's when he saw me. Braden was laughing at something she whispered in his ear, but the sound died the moment he saw me. His smile collapsed into a thin line, like someone had pulled a plug on his face. He stopped walking. He didn't look scared. He didn't look surprised. He looked irritated, like a man who'd just discovered gum stuck to the sole of an expensive shoe. "Well, well," he said loudly, letting his voice echo across the marble lobby. "Look who crawled out of the grave!" I took a slow step forward. My boots echoed once. I made sure everyone could hear me breathe. "Otis," I said. "Otis King?" He tilted his head, pretending to study me. "Otis King," he repeated with a chuckle. "I thought you were dead. That obituary seemed pretty convincing." "You wrote it," I said calmly. He shrugged, like we were discussing a typo on a contract. "Details. It made things efficient. Keisha was emotional, easier to manage. You understand?" "A kindness," I said flatly. Braden smiled wider. "Exactly. A kindness." Tiffany leaned closer to him, her fur coat brushing his arm. She looked at me like I was something unpleasant she'd found on her shoe. "Is this him?" she asked, not even bothering to lower her voice. "The mechanic? He smells like oil. Is that permanent?" Braden laughed and squeezed her waist. "That's the smell of 40 years of failure, babe. While I was building an empire, Otis here was crawling under cars for pocket change." I ignored her completely. My eyes never left his face. "Where is my daughter?" Braden glanced at his watch, slow and deliberate. "I don't know. Last time I saw her, she was dragging a trash bag down the street. Maybe she found a bridge, maybe a dumpster. She always was resilient, like a cockroach." Something hot flared behind my eyes. My jaw tightened so hard my teeth ached. I could have ended him right there, one step, one grip. I knew exactly how fragile the human neck was, but I remembered why I was there. I remembered Keisha's bruises. I remembered the plan. "You sold the house," I said. His face lit up with pride. "Sold it cash, 1.2 million, hot market. You wouldn't understand, Otis. You work with wrenches. I work with assets." "That was Keisha's house," I said. "I paid for it." "You gifted it," he corrected smoothly. "And then she gifted it to me. Legal, signed, notarized." He pointed toward the glass doors, where a sleek black Porsche idled at the curb. "See that? That's the house now. 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Much better investment than a wife who stopped being fun." Tiffany laughed, sharp and bright. "You're awful," she said, kissing his cheek. I looked at the car. Then I looked back at him. "You really think you're untouchable?" "I am untouchable," Braden said, stepping closer, trying to loom over me. "I'm running for city council. I've got friends in the mayor's office. The police chief answers my calls. You're a nobody, a ghost. Go crawl back to whatever hole you came from." He turned his back on me and took Tiffany's arm. They walked toward the revolving doors like royalty. "Braden," I called out. He stopped, but didn't turn around. "Enjoy the car," I said. "It cost you everything." He glanced back, eyes full of contempt. "Get lost, old man, before I lose my patience." They stepped outside. The engine roared. The Porsche disappeared into traffic. The doorman smirked. "You heard him. Time to go." I walked out without a word. The cold hit my face, sharp and clean. I didn't feel angry. I felt focused. I got what I came for. A confession. Every word he said was recorded. The admission, the cruelty, the lies. I climbed into my old Ford truck, rusted, dented, forgotten. I started the engine and smiled to myself. "He thinks the house is money," I whispered, "and he thinks the money is his." I drove toward my lawyer's office, already knowing something Braden didn't. He thought the game was over. It hadn't even started yet. It was a $50 million contract. If Braden landed it, he was set for life. It was the centerpiece of his campaign, the crown jewel he kept flashing to donors and reporters like proof he was already king. "I know," I said quietly. Saul looked up from his desk, confused. "You know?" "I know because my company, Kingston Infrastructure, is the one vetting the bids." His eyes widened. Saul knew about Kingston. Everyone in the industry did. What he didn't know was how far my reach still went. "Braden thinks I'm a mechanic," I continued. "He thinks I'm a bug he can squash. He doesn't know I'm the one holding the magnifying glass." I stood up and walked toward the door. "I'm not going to sue him, Saul. I'm not going to beat him up. I'm going to give him exactly what he wants. I'm going to feed his ambition until he chokes on it." I opened the door, then looked back at him. "Keep the retainer. I might need you to bail me out later, but for now, the law is useless." I stepped out into the gray city light. Skyscrapers loomed overhead, cold and arrogant. Braden was up there somewhere, looking down, thinking he was a god. He forgot the first rule of construction. The higher you build, the deeper the foundation needs to be. And Braden Sterling was building his castle on quicksand. I took out my phone. I didn't reply to his text. Instead, I dialed a number only 5 people in the world had. "Marcus," I said when he answered. "It's Otis." There was a pause. "Mr. King, I haven't heard from you in months. Is everything all right?" "No," I said. "I'm coming out of retirement. I need a job. I need to be on the site assessment team for the harbor project." "Consider it done," Marcus said instantly. I watched a city bus hiss past me. "I don't want to lead the team." "Then what do you want?" "I want to be the janitor." Silence. "The janitor?" he repeated. "Yes. Put me on payroll as Otis Washington. Give me a mop and a bucket. Make sure I'm assigned to the conference room where Braden Sterling gives his presentation next week." Marcus exhaled slowly. He knew me well enough not to ask questions. "Understood, Mr. King." I hung up and glanced at the restraining order still glowing on my screen. "You want me to stay away," I whispered. "I won't come to your door. I'll be right inside the room with you." That night, I went down to the basement of my brownstone. The air smelled like damp concrete and old iron. It smelled like the tunnels I used to build. Most people keep their skeletons in closets. I kept my power in the basement. Behind a stack of tires sat an old cast-iron safe from the 1920s, 800 pounds of rust and history. I knelt down, my knees popping, and spun the dial. Left to 24, right to 11, left to 68. The door groaned open. Inside were no jewels, no cash, just manila folders. I pulled out the top one and wiped off the dust. Original stock certificates, 51% controlling interest, Kingston Infrastructure. 20 years ago, I stepped down as CEO. I got tired of the suits, the smiles, the games. I sold part of the company, put Marcus in charge, and disappeared. To the world, Kingston was a faceless giant. To Braden Sterling, I was a broke old mechanic. I laid the folder on my workbench next to a campaign flyer I'd torn off a pole earlier that day. Braden's perfect smile stared back at me. Building a future we can trust. The harbor revitalization project was the biggest infrastructure deal in a decade. Sterling Properties was the front runner. Braden had leveraged everything he owned to get there. Without that contract, he would collapse. I could have ended it with one phone call, but that would have been mercy. Instead, I called Marcus again. "Keep him as the lead," I said. Marcus hesitated. "You want us to approve his bid?" "No. I want you to make him think he's won." Another pause. "I want to be invisible," I said. "Put me on the maintenance crew." Rich men don't see janitors. They talk, they brag, they get careless. Marcus laughed softly. "Okay, Washington. Uniform and badge will be sent tonight." Monday morning, I walked into Braden's glass tower wearing a gray jumpsuit and a name tag that said, "Okay." I pushed a mop bucket across marble floors while he looked right through me. And while he polished his ego, I started planting the charges. He thought he was playing chess. He didn't know I built the board. He was talking about the future, about legacy, about a new residential complex that would redefine luxury living in the city. It was a beautiful lie wrapped in expensive words. I moved to the far corner of the room, dipping the mop into the gray water. The smell of ammonia cut through the aroma of expensive cologne and fresh coffee. No one stopped me. No one even paused their breathing. To them, the room was cleaning itself. I was just a biological robot, a mechanism of maintenance. I worked my way along the wall, inching closer to the head of the table, closer to him. My heart was a cold stone in my chest. This was the man who had destroyed my family, the man who had taken my dignity and laughed while doing it. Every muscle in my body wanted to straighten up, to cross the distance between us and end this. But I forced the rage down deep into the pit of my stomach where it burned like acid. Not yet. Patience is the weapon of the righteous. Braden was pacing now, feeding off the energy of the room. He walked toward the side table where a silver carafe of coffee sat on a silver tray. He was still talking, his hands waving in the air, painting pictures of millions of dollars. I was right there, mopping a spot that was already clean just a few feet away. He reached for a porcelain cup without looking. His hand was careless, arrogant. He knocked the cup over. Dark liquid splashed across the polished wood of the side table and cascaded down onto the beige carpet right next to my boots. The room went silent. The spell of his presentation was broken for a split second. Braden stopped. He looked down at the stain, and then he looked at me. For the first time, his eyes locked onto mine. There was no recognition. There was no humanity. There was only annoyance. It was the look a man gives a malfunctioning toaster. He sighed loud and theatrical. "Great," he muttered, "just great." He took a step toward me, and I saw his foot lash out. It wasn't a hard kick. It was a nudge, a disrespectful tap of his polished leather shoe against my shin. It was a gesture of dominance, a reminder of who stood tall and who cleaned the floor. "Hey, old man," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You see this? You see what a mess this is?" I nodded slowly, gripping the mop handle so tight the wood creaked under my gloves. "Clean it up," he commanded, pointing at the floor. "And do it fast. This is a boardroom, not a cafeteria. People like you are only good for cleaning up other people's messes, so do your job." The room chuckled, a low ripple of sycophantic laughter. They were laughing at his wit. They were laughing at the old janitor. I felt the blood rushing in my ears, a roar like a waterfall. This was the test. This was the moment where the plan could fail if my pride was stronger than my resolve. If I looked up, if I showed the fire in my eyes, he would know, he would see. I swallowed the bile in my throat. I let the old man take over. "Yes, sir," I mumbled, my voice raspy and weak. "Right away, sir. I am sorry, sir." I dropped to my knees, the ultimate submission. I pulled a rag from my belt and began to dab at the coffee soaking into the carpet. Braden didn't move. He stood right there, enjoying the view of another human being at his feet. "You got some on my shoe?" he said. I looked at his shoe. A single drop of coffee sat on the black leather toe. "Clean that too," he said. I froze. This was unnecessary. This was cruel. This was Braden. I reached out with the rag. My hand was shaking, and I let him think it was from fear. I wiped the toe of his shoe, polishing the leather until it gleamed. "There you go," I whispered. "Good as new." While he was looking down at his reflection in the shoe, gloating in his power, I made my move. My other hand, the one hidden by the bulk of the tablecloth hanging over the edge of the conference table, moved with the speed of a magician. I had practiced this motion 1,000 times in the dark. I reached up under the lip of the heavy mahogany table. My fingers found the rough wood of the underside. I pressed the small black disc against the surface, the adhesive bit instantly. It was a military raw listening device no bigger than a quarter with a battery life of 48 hours. It was done. I pulled my hand back and grabbed the bucket. I stood up, groaning slightly like an old man with bad knees. "All clean, sir," I said, keeping my eyes on his chest. Braden didn't answer. He had already turned back to his audience, the janitor forgotten the moment he was no longer useful. "I apologize for the interruption, gentlemen," he said, his voice regaining its smooth power. "As I was saying, the vision for this project goes beyond simple housing." I backed out of the room. I pulled the heavy door shut until it clicked. The moment the latch engaged, I straightened my spine. I walked down the hallway, not as a janitor but as a hunter who had just set a snare. I didn't stop until I reached the service elevator. I took it down to the basement level, past the loading docks, and out the rear exit. The cold air hit my face, and I breathed it in, deep, cleansing the smell of the cleaning fluid from my lungs. My van was parked 3 blocks away, nestled in an alley behind a row of abandoned shops. It was a nondescript gray utility vehicle rusted at the wheel wells. Inside, it was a fortress of surveillance. I climbed into the back and locked the doors. I stripped off the gray jumpsuit, tossing it into the corner with a mixture of relief and disgust. Underneath, I was wearing dark jeans and a black t-shirt. I was myself again. I sat in the swivel chair and put on the heavy noise-canceling headphones. I flipped the switch on the receiver, static, then a burst of noise, then clarity. The bug was live. I could hear the shuffling of papers. I could hear the murmur of voices as the meeting broke up. I heard the heavy door open and close as the board members left. I heard the silence settle over the room. Then I heard the sound I was waiting for, the click of a lock. The room was empty, save for one person, Braden. I heard the distinctive sound of a bottle being opened. Alcohol. He was celebrating. He was pouring a drink. Then the sound of a phone being dialed. I leaned forward, pressing the headphones tighter against my ears. This was it. This was the moment the mask would slip. The ringing stopped. Someone answered on the other end. "It is done," Braden said. His voice was different now. The charm was gone, replaced by a cold, hard edge. They bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. There was a pause as he listened to the person on the other end. "Yeah, they think the capital is going into construction materials," he laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Idiots. The estimates are inflated by 300%. We will funnel the first trench of cash through the shell company in Panama by Friday. My hand flew to the notebook on the desk. I wrote down everything. Panama Friday Shell Company. Don't worry about the oversight. Braden continued, I have the auditors in my pocket. The real estate project is just a ghost. We dig a hole, we pour some concrete, and we leave it there for 2 years while we wash the money. By the time anyone realizes nothing is being built, we will be long gone. I stopped writing. The pen hovered over the paper. It wasn't just greed. It wasn't just corporate negligence. He was laundering money. He was working for a cartel or a syndicate moving dirty cash through a fake construction project. The man who had humiliated me, who had treated me like dirt on his shoe, was involved in something far darker than I had imagined. Braden continued talking. Yeah, the old man in the hallway earlier almost ruined my rhythm. No, just some janitor, nobody. He is nothing, just like the rest of them. Listen, make sure the transfer happens at midnight. I want this clean. The line went dead. I took off the headphones and sat in the silence of the van. The rage that had been burning in my stomach had cooled into something solid, something hard and heavy like a brick of ice. He thought I was nothing. He thought I was just a stain on his floor to be wiped away. He was wrong. I looked at the notes on the paper. I had the time. I had the method. I had the crime. Braden wasn't just a bad businessman. He was a criminal. And I was the only person in the world who knew his secret. I reached into my bag and pulled out a fresh hard drive. I backed up the audio file immediately. 2 copies. Always 2 copies. I looked at the screen where the audio waveform was still flatlining in the silence of the empty boardroom. You made a mistake, Braden, I whispered to the empty van. You should have looked at the janitor's eyes. Now I knew where the money was going. Now I knew the timeline. Friday, midnight. I had 3 days. 3 days to turn his ghost project into his grave. I started the engine of the van. The vibration rumbled through the floorboards. It was time to go to work. The janitor was gone. The soldier was back. And the war had just begun. The air conditioning in the back of the van hummed a low, steady rhythm that matched the beating of my heart. On the screen in front of me, the high-definition feed showed every beat of sweat forming on Braden's forehead. He was sitting in the plush leather chair of Marcus's office, the office I had paid for, the office that was the stage for his destruction. Marcus played his part perfectly. He leaned back, steepling his fingers, looking every inch, the skeptical investor. I spoke into the microphone, my voice distorted, and fed directly into Marcus's hidden earpiece. Tell him we are impressed, I said, my voice cold and flat. Tell him the board loves the vision. Marcus smiled, a shark-like grin that made Braden relax his shoulders. Braden Marcus said, his voice smooth as silk. Mrs. Sterling, the receptionist, said, her voice polite but firm, I am afraid the card was declined. There was a pause, the silence of absolute shock. Try it again, Tiffany snapped. It is a black card. It has no limit. I tried it 3 times, ma'am. The receptionist said it is coming back. Declined. Do you have another form of payment? Do you know who my husband is? Tiffany hissed. He owns half this city. This machine must be broken. This is embarrassing. Fix it. I'm sorry, ma'am. There's nothing I can do. I heard the sound of a zipper. She was frantically digging for another card. Try this one, she said. Declined. And this one declined. I sat in the dark van and let out a breath. I remembered how Tiffany used to look at me when I was just the help, the way she would look through me. Now she was standing in a lobby in a robe, realizing that the golden ticket she had married was made of fool's gold. She stormed out of the spa. I heard the car door slam. Then she dialed Braden. "Pick up, pick up, pick up," she muttered. The line clicked. "What?" Braden barked. He sounded breathless, terrified. "My cards are not working." Tiffany screamed. "I am at the spa." "Braden, they cut up my card. They humiliated me. What is going on?" "Shut up," Braden roared. His voice was so loud it distorted the microphone. "Just shut up, Tiffany. I am handling business. The accounts are frozen for a transfer. It is a security measure." "A security measure?" Tiffany laughed a harsh, bitter sound. The lady at the counter said, "Insufficient funds. Braden, you told me we were rich. You told me I never had to worry." "We are rich," Braden yelled. "I am just moving some assets around." "Stop spending money for 1 second, you leech. Go home. Do not buy anything. Do not go anywhere. Just go home." He hung up on her. I watched the GPS dot that represented Tiffany sit still for a long time. The cracks were not just in the bank account. They were in the marriage. They were in the foundation of lies they had built their life on. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the city. Braden was running out of time. He had the car money. He had the loan shark money, but he was still short. I calculated he was still about $200,000 shy of the $2 million mark. He was sitting in his car, parked on a quiet side street. I could hear his heavy breathing through the bug. He was muttering to himself, cursing, hitting the dashboard. "Think, Braden. Think who has cash, who is liquid." He went through his contacts. He called friends who didn't answer. He called business partners who suddenly had to go into tunnels. The smell of failure was on him, and rats can always smell when the ship is sinking. Then he went quiet. A long, terrifying silence. "I know," he whispered. My heart skipped a beat. Who did he know? "The old man," he said softly. "The old fool." My burner phone, the old flip phone I had kept active for exactly this moment, lit up on the dashboard of the van. It was him. I stared at the screen. The audacity, the sheer absolute lack of a soul. He was calling me. The man he had mocked, the man he had fired, the man whose life he had ruined. I let it ring twice. I cleared my throat. I hunched my shoulders, even though he couldn't see me letting the character take over. I answered. "Hello?" I said, my voice trembling and old. "Hey, old-timer," Braden said. His voice was fake, cheerful, a manic edge to it that made my skin crawl. "It is Braden, your old boss." "Mr. Braden," I said, "to what do I owe the pleasure?" "Listen, I was thinking about you," Braden said, speaking fast. "I know things ended rough between us, but I have a heart, you know. I want to help you out." "Help me?" I asked. "Yeah," Braden said. "I have this investment opportunity. Guaranteed return. Triple your money in a week. But you have to get in now. Tonight." I stayed silent, letting him sweat. "I don't have any money." Mr. Friday came faster than it should have. Time does that when the end is approaching. It compresses, it sharpens. Every second feels heavier than the last. I spent the next 3 days moving quietly, like a shadow that knew every corner of the city because it helped pour the concrete beneath it. I didn't rush. Rushing is how men make mistakes. I audited accounts under false names, rerouted oversight requests through departments that owed Kingston favors, and leaked just enough information to make Braden paranoid, but not enough to make him run. A trapped animal is dangerous, but a desperate one is predictable. By Friday afternoon, Braden was unraveling. I listened to him through the bug as he argued with bankers, screamed at accountants, threatened people who used to fear him. Fear had left him. It always does when money dries up. Fear is loyal only to power. At 11:17 p.m., He was alone in his office again. The bottle was back. The glass clinked against the desk with shaking hands. "Just get me through tonight," he muttered. "Just get me through tonight." Midnight was the transfer window, the shell company, Panama, the point of no return. At 11:43, my phone buzzed. "Marcus, one word, ready." I typed back 2 words, "Do it." At 11:59 p.m., I watched the live feed. Braden refreshed his laptop again and again, sweat running down his temple, tie loosened, jacket tossed over a chair like it had betrayed him. The clock flipped. 12 a.m. The transfer failed. Once, twice, 3 times. "No," he whispered. "No, no, 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 no." The phone rang. He answered it, screaming. "What do you mean frozen? Who authorized that? You can't—" He stopped mid-sentence. I leaned forward. "Yes," he said slowly. "Yes, I see the notice." I knew what it said. Emergency injunction, federal oversight, audit triggered by evidence of money laundering, wire fraud, campaign finance violations, and conspiracy. Kingston Infrastructure's final veto, combined with recordings, paper trails, and a very well-timed anonymous tip, had dropped the hammer. Braden laughed then, a thin, broken sound. "This isn't happening," he said. "This isn't real." Then came the knock, not polite, not hesitant. 3 firm strikes of authority. "Braden Sterling," a voice said through the door. "Federal agents, open up." He didn't move. I heard the door forced open, the scuffle, the curses, the sound of metal cuffs snapping shut. The bottle shattered on the floor. It was over. I shut down the feed and sat back. No triumph, no joy, just a deep, quiet stillness, like the moment after a bridge demolition when the dust settles and the river flows again as if nothing ever stood there. By morning, the city was buzzing. Headlines everywhere. Corruption scandal. Harbor project halted. City council candidate arrested. Investors scrambling. Sterling Properties bankrupt before lunch. Tiffany filed for divorce by noon. By evening, Braden's face was everywhere, no longer smiling. Pale, hollow, reduced to a mugshot and a cautionary tale. Keisha sat beside me on the couch, watching the news in silence. "It's over," she said. "Yes," I replied. "It's over." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "You did this, didn't you?" I nodded. "Was it worth it?" she asked. I thought about the basement safe, the mop bucket, the kick to my shin, the shoe I polished while planting the seed that destroyed him. "Yes," I said, "but not for the reason you think." She waited. "It wasn't about revenge," I continued. "Revenge is loud, messy, it leaves scars. This was about balance, about reminding men like him that the world doesn't belong to them just because they wear better suits." She leaned her head on my shoulder. A week later, Kingston Infrastructure withdrew quietly from the spotlight. Marcus stayed on as CEO. The harbor project was rebid, this time clean, transparent, boring, the way infrastructure should be. As for me, I returned the janitor's uniform, washed it, folded it, left it on the bench in the basement. I locked the safe and didn't open it again. People like Braden think power is about being seen, about standing at the head of the table. They forget the truth. Power lives in the foundation, in the walls, in the hands that build and maintain and clean up after men who mistake height for strength. He never saw me, and that was his last mistake. Some nights, when the city is quiet, I walk past that glass tower. I look up at the empty office where Braden once thought he was untouchable. Then I keep walking. The job is done, the mess is clean, and the old man with the mop is gone.